What is the craziest fight you've ever witnessed? High school, there was a fight out front of the school, pretty brutal, wall of kids surrounding it, goes on for a bit, then the one asshole pulls a fucking gun, so not only the other guy he's fighting, but everyone starts sprinting away from him. In a mad rush, my brother of all people, gets hit by a car. Fight was by the road. As he turned to run, he told me later, someone must have pushed him into the traffic. It was a school zone, so I guess the car was slow enough, and he was a pretty tough motherfucker, even then, so he was miraculously not hurt badly. He was just on this guy's hood. So people are still running, but some are running away from the fucker with the gun. Some saw my brother, and are running over to help him, and it's chaos. I see the shit with my brother, and immediately, forget the gun dude, I think my brother is dead, or seriously hurt, because he got fucking hit, and is on the car hood. As it skids to a stop, he rolls off, and I'm thinking, he's not getting up, but like a teenager seeing his first titty, he's up in a second, and ready to fuck someone. I don't know where the rage came from exactly, but he fucking runs at the car that hit him. Driver opens the door to get out, and I'd presume to check on him, and my brother is sprinting at this old, unlucky driver like a bull in heat. The dude sees this, and closes his door, and locks it, and my brother grabs the door handle, tries to get in, and it won't budge. He starts banging on the guy's window, swearing and kicking the door, and Mr. Steel-Toed Boots is making huge dents in it. People are starting to approach my brother, but no one is daring to grab him or anything, and I look over, and even the fucker who had the gun is standing gawking. My brother kicks the guy's mirror off at some point, picks it up, and starts hitting the car with it. Then, the guy finally gets his car started, and is starting to drive away when my brother yells, "Shoot this motherfucker, don't just stand there," to the kid who has been in the fight. Cops rolled up next. My brother was more civil to them. Only been in a handful of fights, but the first one was bad. My sister has a big mouth, and was always running it off, when we were kids. She is the youngest, but she was built like an ox, so no one ever called her on her BS. One day, she came in crying. She had popped off to the wrong girl, and she got her ass whooped. My dad looked at me and said, "Go out there and defend your sister." I had never been in a fight before, and I know the girl who gave her a rap on the Jack Johnson, so I knew it wouldn't end well. You know she started it. I tried to argue, but he was having none of it. "And you'll finish it. Go, and don't come back until one of you is bleeding." Sigh. So I sulked out the door and walked across the concrete, and saw her standing with her sister. She looked up at me, and watched me slowly make my way across the courtyard. I stopped right in front of her, and put my hands up in front of my face. The way I had seen it done in movies. She kind of tilted her head to the side, and laughed at me, but I'm sure she could see the despair in my eyes, and knew there was no other way. In about 15 seconds, she had me in a ball on the ground. She swung her arms, in a way I had never seen anyone swing before, over her head, and at her sides. It was like two windmills in a thunderstorm, and I had no way to prepare for that kind of crap. After it was done, I got up off the floor, and walked slowly back into the house. My dad looked at me, and shook his head, and said, "At least you tried. Now you can look your sister in the eye." Thanks, Dad. Your dad is an asshole. Wow, your dad is kind of a really shitty person. Two teenagers tried to mug me on Christmas Eve back in 2009, I think. I'd have to go back and look. Anyway, I'm a huge guy. I have some extra weight in my gut, but I'm not someone most people would think, hey, let's pick a fight with that guy. I was walking home from a haircut. Instead of walking my usual route, I took a detour by the neighborhood park. This park is visible from the main street. I saw two kids tossing a baseball back and forth, one of them occasionally hitting it lightly with his bat. As I walk by, the two approach me, the one with the bat first. He asks me for the time. It's a little after 1 o'clock. I say, after checking my phone, cool, thanks. Now give us your coat, wallet, and your phone. I'm sorry, you heard me. Give us your coat, your wallet, and your phone. No, the kid swung his bat at my ribs. I stepped into it, and pushed his arms down as best I could. He hit me, but it hit my upper thigh instead. After taking the hit, I hit him hard in the chest, knocking him out of there, while he was stunned. I broke his arm at the elbow. He fell to the ground, still unable to catch his breath. Thanks to the adrenaline at this point, I had the full intention of beating this kid, within inches of his life. That was very scary to me later. When it comes to fight or flight, my instinct is, apparently, to fight, and fight to win. That's dangerous for me. Thanks to laws regarding reasonable force, his friend had come around behind me and punched me once. I turned around and landed a hit to his temple. He backed off, disoriented. I don't remember what I said. I know I screamed something at him, waiting for him to attack again. Mugger 1 had gotten back up on his feet, and the two of them ran away. The whole thing must have taken less than 2 minutes. I love thinking about the explanation he must have given his family for why his arm was broken. Long story short, I walked away with 2 nice bruises hidden by my clothing. A retarded mugger walked away with a busted arm. My father had a rule. I could never start a fight, but if somebody hit me first, I had to finish it. I grew up in a small town in the 1970s, and Dad knew life would be bad if a bully ever got the upper hand. One summer evening on the playground, another kid sucker punched me in the stomach, with no warning. I couldn't breathe. The kid got on his bike and went home, and I did the same. Once I got my breath back, Dad could see I was upset, so he asked what happened. He then ordered me to go back, find the kid, and punch him. Other kids at the playground told me the kid had gone home, so I rode my bike to his house, and knocked on the door. When I told his MILF of a mother why I was there, she called him down, confirmed the story, then held his elbows behind his back, while I punched him in the gut. I muttered, "Thanks," then got on my bike, and pedaled home. My mother was aghast when I told her how it went down, and she gave my dad one of those, seriously, looks. Proud moment. I punched a kid, while his mother held him defenseless for me. I got in a few more fights before graduating from high school, but none ended up being as funny as that one. Man. This one is long, but worth it. I lived in a gang environment growing up. The neighborhood was mostly Crip-affiliated cliques, with some Mexican prison gangs in the mix here and there. One of the OGs in the neighborhood was this Mexican cat named Mickey, but he had blue eyes, so everyone called him Mickey, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. We were pretty creative. My homeboy, Sonny, I don't know why his mom gave him a girl's name, was throwing a big house party for his birthday, and it just happened to coincide with Mickey Blue Eyes getting released from a short prison stint out in East Texas. The neighborhood was 4-plex housing projects, and Sonny and Mickey lived in the same strip, separated by one house, so obviously, there was going to be some conflict just spatially. Also some serious gang conflict. Sonny was a Crip, Mickey was an RU, Razo Anita, prison gang that doesn't hold much power anymore, but back then, they were a big deal. These gangs weren't at war or anything, but there was some neighborhood tension already building, and there's always a little default tension between Mexican and black gangs anyway. The biggest saving grace was that Sonny and Mickey happened to be real cool with each other. So ultimately, they decided to throw one big party together. Can't beat 'em, join 'em mentality. But the bottom line was that both parties were going to be packed as it was. Easily 50 to 100 each. Join or not, fighting would be inevitable. We knew it. The day came, and me, Sunny, Mickey the Blue Eyes, White Dragon, and a few other people had been pre-gaming all morning, drinking beer on the front porch, trying to figure out how we could stop violence from ruining the party. We had been throwing our empty bottles on the concrete by the dumpster, shattering a few. This part is important to visualize for the story. The dumpster was set in a little sidewalk enclosure, like built-in curbs on either side. Seeing this gave Sunny a big idea. He told us to get up and help him push the dumpster forward, stopping at the lip of the curb enclosures. So basically, it created a big open square of concrete on the ground. This was his grand idea. We keep shattering all our bottles in the concrete square. When partygoers come, they shatter all theirs too. We tell everyone, there will be no fighting tonight, but if they get into some shit, and feel they have to throw hands, they have to get barefoot, and do it in the square, on the broken glass. It sounded solid as fuck to all of us. Nobody, we thought, would be dumb enough to fight under those circumstances. Black and brown would be forced to live in harmony. The party starts. Sunny makes his announcement. Everyone agrees, and the fun begins. Things actually are going pretty smooth. Everyone is having fun, mixing, drinking, and smoking, and freestyling together. Then at some point, all you hear is a big rumble in the backyard. We run back there, and our friend Phil was toe-to-toe with the biggest Mexican gangster you ever saw. He had to be 7'12" for comparison. Phil was basically a DMX lookalike, short as fuck, but lean and scrappy. We get between them, and remind them of the square agreement, fully expecting them to come to their senses, and reevaluate the situation. Of course, that doesn't happen, not even a little bit. They just start nodding at each other, and taking off their shoes and shirts. In all our minds, all we're thinking is, oh shit, this is really about to happen. Is this really going down right now? I think so. A big crowd forms around the square, and it gets super quiet. Music is still playing from the party, but that's it. Phil and the tatted up Mexican version of Andre the Giant step into the square, their faces already twisting up into hard expressions from the glass beneath their feet. They're in pain, but neither wants to show it. This is a pride thing at this point. Phil throws the first punch. It's not that great, but it connects, and phases the big guy. Andre the Giant comes back with 2 body shots, and grabs Phil into a headlock, beating him over the top. Phil is in trouble, but manages to slip out somehow. You can see blood on the bottom of both their feet already. Phil pushes the big guy off him, and front kicks him with broken glass. The crowd went crazy. This is in the late 90s, so it's not like we'd seen Anderson Silva do that shit before. The big guy takes a few more punches in the melee, and gets mad. He just starts swinging while throwing haymakers. Phil starts swinging too. It's a straight up brawl at this point. Phil is taking major shots. I'm pretty sure I audibly heard his nose break at one point. Blood is running down his face. Everyone is expecting him to go down any second. Then, a huge right hook. The big Mexican goes down, right into the broken glass, hard. I can't even explain the explosion from the party. People went crazy. I felt like I owed Phil $49.99, like a goddamn pay-per-view fight. In the end, everyone rushed to help the dude up, including Phil. He came to pretty quick, and him and Phil got cleaned up, and drank a bottle of Crown together on the porch. They had mutual respect, and it was squashed. Long story short, 2 rival gang members at a party fought barefooted on broken glass. 7'12", so 8 feet, hot damn. Knocking someone that big on their ass is a real feat. This Mickey Blue Eyes, would he have been in Baytown around 04 to 06? a friend and I, are night fishing. When we were 19 at a local pier, as was typical, we got nothing, and our 2 joints were long gone, so we decided to go home. Approximately 1 a.m., I went to get the car, to load up our fishing gear, and on the way, I hear a tense female voice angrily saying, "Stop, stop." I looked down through the planks, and saw some shadows through the gaps. Then I see someone running to the east, my left, who was grabbed by another person, and brought back under the bridge. I hear muffled screaming, and finally decided I needed to do something. I jumped down from the side of the pier, 4 feet above the beach at this point, so no big deal, and see a guy with his hand over a female's mouth. He was restraining her. She wasn't happy. I went into a save a home mode. I jump on the guy's back, and lock his body with my legs, and got him in what was essentially a standing rear naked choke. He drops down with his full weight on me, but because of the sand, it wasn't that bad. I ended up choking him out. I thought I won, and was a hero. The girl was irate with me, and called me an asshole. Then dude's friends came and jumped me, beat my ass, while the girl consoled her snoring boyfriend. He woke up, and proceeded to treat her like shit, as I laid bloodied on the sand. Story of my fucking life. One time, I was going to a guy's place to hang out with him and a girl. I was wanting to date her friend. Turns out, that guy also wanted to date her. That guy went out to get them after I arrived, and I was feeling silly. So I found his Nerf gun, and when he opened the door, I pointed it at him, and gave him a look of like a cowboy, or someone from an anime. He winced and tackled me, and started tossing me around. The 2 girls had already walked past the room, thinking we were just fucking around. This guy, 80 more pounds than me, keeps throwing me around, and I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck is he doing? He's going to fucking break something of mine. Since I was much smaller, I also happened to be much faster, so I got around on his back as fast as I could, and put my arms around his neck, and squeezed them together as fast as I could. I ended up closing his airway, and the arteries all at once, and he just collapsed like a pile of meat. We went back into the room, a bit afterward after he got up, and I was like, why did you not stop throwing me around there? You could have seriously injured me. Being like 75% larger than me. Him. I don't know, you must have seen that I winced at you though when I first saw it, at a Nerf gun. Well, you totally kicked my ass. I don't care. I just wanted the fight over with. What the fuck? I had bruises on my hip and knee, and my walking was a bit painful for about a week afterward. I ended up leaving shortly after, and I also started dating that girl. Long story short, fat nerd tackles skinny nerd playfully, but ends up being serious about it, and continues throwing him around, injuring him a bit. Skinny nerd puts fat nerd in rear naked chokehold. End of encounter. Oh goodness, I was sitting there on the bus, minding my own business. We're going to leave from school, and the bus driver tells this one kid something wasn't right with his pass. A couple weeks before, he told him to either quit swearing or get off the bus. This kid had it with this bus driver, got up from his seat, stormed up to the driver, and began beating him into the corner. Bus driver starts fighting back, and pushes the kid back. An older man gets up to try and stop it, but gets knocked back into his seat. The driver's fighting back pretty well, and got the kid onto the floor. He's sitting there curled up into a ball, and the bus driver throws a couple more punches, and calls the kid a punk. All while this is happening, the bus is still in drive, so it's moving. It cuts off some people who were going to leave, and runs into one of the parked cars. I had to walk home that day. I used to work at a concert venue in Los Angeles, for this particular show. It was one of 7 shows for this artist, Vicente Fernandez, the Elvis of ranchera music. Big drinking crowd, beer is cheap, 32 ounces cups for $8. It was my second year working the venue. I'm at my post, and a guest approaches me and asks about fights that happen at the shows, and people getting sick. I tell him it happens. People drink too much, shit happens, laughs, and walks away. 3 hours into the main act, a fight breaks out in my section. Security is slow to act. I look around for my supervisor, no one. I look to the middle of the seating, and another fight has broken out. And on the far side, another fight breaks out. 3 huge melees are going on at once. The one that is closer to me, get under control by security, the main instigator, the guy that was asking me about fights. I thought it was funny, then sad. In high school, a friend and I were in the back smoking pit, where the lowlifes went to smoke. Lots of fun stuff happened out there, like when this nerdy kid's mum came and chewed him out in front of everyone for stealing her weed, which was subsequently stolen from him. Or when kids just got back from grabbing eggs on the last day before summer, and an SUV drove by with water guns. An egg even went through the sunroof. That day, an egg also hit the vice principal, and she did nothing but kept walking. Anyways, that's the setting. I was out there with my friend, smoking, and these 2 kids seemed like they were going to start fighting. 9th graders. The one kid who seemed to be the aggressor slowly put on a leather glove on his punching hand. My friend and I cheered as the epic battle began. We cheered things like, yeah, suck his dick, fuck him up the ass, reach around, you pussy. Never before have I seen a fight break up so fast. They literally lost tempo, and both went back inside. Edit, sadly not back inside each other. 2, both happened at my high school. First one, this is really short, but we were on lunch break near the parking lot. A kid, who always talked about being a crip, is hanging out with his buddies 2 buildings down. Anyways, to make a long story short, he had hooked up with the girlfriend of a blood. A car pulls up, 5 hood kids get out, one with a bat, and beat the shit out of the kid, really quickly, like in 5 seconds. So he is shocked. Now, this is where it got wild, because the 2 kids the crip was with go nuts and starts trying to throw punches. Other kids had run off to get to the campus cops. Anyways, 2 of the bloods turn, start fighting the other 2 kids. The remaining 3 pick up this kid, and like a fucking battering ram him, headfirst, into the building like 5 times. Hard. They drop him, and all 5 turn and haul ass out of there. The kid had a cracked skull, and he suffered pretty severe brain damage. Second, I walked in on this one late, but again, a kid, let's call him J, hooked up with another guy's, let's call him S, girlfriend. So, S and his 2 buddies come up to J, S starts talking shit, yelling, etc. This is what I heard after the fact. S throws a sucker punch, J goes down to his knees. A crowd forms. I get out of math class as the crowd is forming. Why not enjoy the show? So, J gets back up, while S is still trying to pummel him with punches like a retard. He's got no real strength behind his punches, he's just swinging. J stands up and hooks S with a right. S looks stunned. J follows up with a giant swing. S goes down. Great. Fight's over. J starts to turn around, when one of the buddies throws a huge punch to the back of J's head and knocks him down. S has gotten up by this point and jumps on J's back and is punching his head. J goes nuts, and in general the fight went nuts here. He squirms around and throws S off of him, gets on top of him, and is just training punches down onto S's face, like seriously fucking him up. One of the buddies of S runs up and does a full fucking soccer kick to J's face. Everyone is going nuts. in a bad way. Some of us were trying to break it up, other kids, assholes, were throwing punches at the people trying to break it up, because they thought you can't interrupt a fight. Except this had stopped being a fair fight a while ago. Anyways, S is bloody, and knocked out cold. J is face down, also knocked out from the kick. The cops are now running towards the fight, when out of fucking nowhere, the other buddy of S stomps on J's head 3 times, hard, broken jaw, broken vertebrae, and went into a coma. He lived, but suffered brain damage also. In both cases though, there was this clear point, when you saw the people in the fight switch from, okay this is a fight, to, okay I am going to kill this person. Most other fights end when one guy gets knocked out. With that out of the way, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want more content to keep appearing in your subscription box. Thanks for watching, and until next time.